Spit freezes before it hits the ground out there tonight. And if you don't believe that, step outside and try it yourself. 4 feet of snow on the level and a crust on top hard enough to walk on without breaking through, which sounds like a mercy till you understand what it means. It means the door won't open against the drift. It means no one's getting to town for another 3 weeks. And it means the rope I tied from that door to the barn an hour ago is the only reason I'm not around and lost 10 feet from my own house tonight. This same storm's already burned through 2/3 of Elijah's winter hay, and he's got 100 head of cattle and one hired hand standing between them and whatever's left of it. I've still got mine to get to. Hi, I'm Annie. My husband's 3 winters gone now, so nights like this, the livestock, the fire, all of it falls to me alone, which is why I'm the one out here instead of him. It started the 1st of December, this one. 3 days of it without stopping, and then weeks more of snow on and off, wind that never really quit. By the time it settled, we had 4 feet on the level and a crust over the top of it, hard enough to bear a grown man's weight. Reverend Taylor, he's this guy who preaches up north of here, has been telling anyone who will listen that he's not exaggerating this one, and I believe him.
A great storm is coming, my friends. Prepare now. Store food, cut wood, and secure your livestock.
I've walked on that crust myself. Huh. Strange thing, standing on top of snow that should have swallowed you to the hip. It also means nobody's getting a wagon through. Not for supplies, not for the doctor, not for anything. And that's not a matter of days, that's weeks. So here's the first thing you learn out here, and you learn it before you learn much else. You do not walk to that barn without a line in your hand. I've tied mine off the door hook myself before the worst of it hit. Out to the corner post, then on to the barn door. Sounds like foolishness till you've heard the stories. And everyone out here has heard the stories. A man loses sight of his own house in a wind like this. Not far off, not lost in some canyon, just turned around in his own yard. And by the time anyone finds him, he's 30 feet from his own porch and long past helping. So you hold that rope, hand over hand, and you don't let go of it for anything. And you follow it home the same way you followed it out. Now, you'd think a body could just stay inside and let the weather do what it does. But this cabin was built to fight an ordinary winter, and a storm like this one is asking more of it than it was ever built to give. Come every fall, I've got a day, sometimes two, spent packing clay and chopped straw and whatever hair I've saved off the cow into every gap between these logs. Mud mostly, worked up with pond water till it holds together, and old corn cobs jammed in first to the wide spots. It dries hard as a brick. If you get the weather just right, it's the only thing standing between me and the wind coming straight through the wall. And then there's the cow. She does not respect a day's honest labor. She's taken to nosing the low chinks out from outside all summer, and I swear she knows exactly which gaps I'm proudest of. Every year, it's not just packing new mud, it's repacking the same mud in the same spots because something's always working to undo it. Inside, the floor is packed dirt, and packed dirt freezes same as anything else once the fire's low. I keep a block of wood by the hearth just to stand on while I work. Bare feet on that floor in January? Huh, you'll understand why fast enough. The fire itself doesn't go out. Not once. Not for one night all winter. Somebody's feeding it at every hour because a fire that dies at 3 in the morning is a cabin freezing by sunrise. And freezing by sunrise with young children is not a thing I care to test. But here's what nobody tells you starting out. That fire only warms the room it's in, and only warms it in a circle a few feet wide. Step past that circle into the corner where the beds are, out to the barn, out into a storm like this one, and the fire might as well not exist. Whatever warmth you're carrying it on your own back from here on. And the fire doesn't win every fight, even inside its own circle. There's precious little glass out here, so the windows are just greased paper stretched tight. It lets in little light and keeps out more of the wind than you'd expect, but not the cold itself. Not on a night like this one. Which is part of why this cabin stays dim as dusk most of the day, and smoky besides, from a fire that never gets a proper draw. Whew. Worst of it, though, is the pantry. Whatever's stocked back there freezes solid, same as the ground does, same as everything else in this house that isn't sitting an arm's length from the hearth. Most winter mornings start the same way. Chip whatever you need for the day loose before you can even think about cooking it. That's a full quarter hour some mornings, just getting breakfast to a state where it'll cook at all. The one I can't stop thinking about tonight is Elijah's hired hand. He's alone out there watching 100 head of cattle on Elijah's place up on Willow Creek. Open prairie, that ground. Not one tree for a windbreak. Nothing but a rail fence between those cattle and whatever the sky decides to throw next. Elijah had gone off to Dubuque for supplies before any of this even started, and left him the whole herd to mind himself. They'd put up 150 tons of hay to see that many head through the winter. Good hay, cut right, stacked right. Then a fire someone set a mile south got loose and burned through 2/3 of it before the snow ever started falling. Gone before the real trouble even arrived. Now this storm's sitting on top of that. Weeks of it by the looks of it. I don't know how the arithmetic on 100 head of cattle and a third of their hay is supposed to work out kind. Neither does he, I'd suppose. I think about him out there some nights, more than I think about my own roof. And it's not only the livestock the cold takes pieces of. There's talk of a man not far from here who came out of a hard sleep one January night to find his own big toe had slipped clear from the quilts and froze stiff before he ever woke to pull it back under. Now, if you'd ask a doctor what to do about that, any doctor, anywhere this side of the ocean, this year or 20 years past, he'd have told you to pack the toe in snow and let it come back slow. Not warm it by the fire. Snow or cold water. Nothing faster than that. The thinking runs that the fire's the thing that kills the flesh, that coaxing it back too quick rots what the cold only bruised. So a man freezes half a toe, and the remedy is more cold, applied patiently. And everybody nods along like that's plain good sense. I've wondered more than once whether the doctoring does the frostbite any worse than the frost did, but that's not for me to say. It's what's done, so it's what I'd do too if it came to it in this house. Which is why, storm or no storm, bedtime here has its own ritual, and I never skip it. Stones from the hearth heated through, wrapped heavy in a rag so they won't scorch a foot, tucked down at the bottom of the bed an hour before anyone climbs in. Nightcaps on every head in this house, mine included. You'd be surprised how much warmth walks straight out through an uncovered scalp on a night like tonight. Truth is, on a night like this, the temptation is just to stay under those covers. Once you're warm, you stay warm, and every trip out from under that quilt costs you something you don't get back easy. I've heard of whole families doing exactly that for days, running in weather like this, staying to bed near as much as they can stand it, and understand the pull of it completely. But I've got livestock that doesn't know the difference between a storm that's 3 days old and one that's 3 weeks old, and they still need feeding, whether I've got the heart to leave that bed or not. That's the whole trick of this winter. When you get down to it, not one wall, not one fire, not one rope. It's getting up anyway, on the morning you least want to. Because whatever this storm still has left to throw doesn't wait for you to feel ready for it.